Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Let me start by saying the garden has surprised me these past few weeks, but I finally figured out something very valuable. I finally figured out how to stop leaf-footed bugs and without spraying my entire garden with chemicals. Because believe me, I was just about at that point. On another good note, I've got tomatoes ripening on my counters, onions and potatoes cured and stored, yes, and ready to eat. But not everything went as planned. It never does, right? I lost a few plants, learned a few lessons, and had to get creative with our brutal heat. Oh my gosh, and it's still going on right now. Not to mention the rain. In fact, I now know firsthand what blossom end rot is. And as a new gardener, I figured I would learn sooner or later, and it didn't take long. So today I'll show you what worked and what didn't and what I'm planning next because fall is just around the corner and this garden isn't done yet. So neither am I. So let's get going and let me show you what's happening in the garden. Starting mid-July, I will get cuttings from tomatoes and root those in water inside the house most likely and get those ready to go into the ground. I've never done it before, so I might have to do a little research to find out if I need to put them in a pot first and let the roots get more established and then put them in the ground. I might even try both methods just to see what works best in my situation so that I can do tomatoes. Then again, I might start a couple of tomatoes from seed because I do want to try the Paul Robeson tomatoes. And there's another one I can't remember right off the top of my head right now that I want to try that I had ordered. So I want to try those. And I have two green stalks that I can't wait to plant out, mostly herbs and flowers. And the other one might end up being, for now, being a place where I start seeds. We'll see. But I'm excited to do that. I have seen so many gardeners with the green stalks and they are just fantastic. Oh boy, okay, I see a leaf-footed bug right there, a little baby one right there. I don't know if you can see it crawling, but I certainly can. So as soon as I turn off this camera, I'm going to work to see if I can find that little bug and make short work of it. Okay, here is my arsenal. Look at that. Look at all those leaf-footed bugs, including the little nymphs. So you're probably thinking, okay, how did you do that? Well, I made this solution with water. I filled the jar to about halfway and put in probably an ounce of white vinegar. I don't think it matters what kind of vinegar you use. And I poured in probably a tablespoon of dish soap. I had heard people talk about using a vacuum, and I did try with the vacuum that I have, but it wasn't cutting it because most of them were getting away instead of me getting them into the vacuum. So I had to come up with a different solution. And this was my solution. I keep this little jar inside. I accidentally left it out this morning when I was dispensing of some of the leaf-footed bugs this morning. Accidentally left it on my post. But I leave it right here. So when I come in the garden, I'm in here at least 2 or 3 times a day. When I see them, I open up the jar, hold it beneath the plant that they're on, and in most cases, in my case, it's always the same plant, always the same tomato, which is where this damage came from. They all harbor onto one area. I guess it's where they were hatched. They all hang out there, and I just knock them off by tapping the plant, and they just fall into the jar, and it kills them instantly. The large ones might last for a few seconds, but maybe 2 or 3 seconds. That's about it. It is highly effective, And I know that many people use the same thing to kill fungus gnats and fruit flies. So I decided, okay, let's try that. Especially since spinosad didn't work. There's probably something else out there that would, but this has been highly effective for me because when I knock on the plant, just about every single one of them fall into that jar and die. So it is very effective, and I must say very, very satisfying. Very satisfying. I come out here hoping I'll find some so that I can do it. I know this sounds really heartless, but hey, they're trying to destroy my plants, so I have no sympathy. Oh, one thing I almost forgot. I forgot to tell you that you may have noticed it yourself. And I can't even remember if I told you about it, but I had put on a shade cloth. I'll put a photo in there so that you can see what that's like. But I had a shade cloth over this, as well as the other garden over there. I had a shade cloth up, and that might have slowed some of the growth too for the okra and the cucumbers. But it was so hot for several days, up to like 97 degrees, and I needed to do something. So I put the shade cloth on, but I have removed it because I saw that it was not benefiting the plants anymore, especially the tomatoes. I think they're doing better now that I've removed the shade cloth, even though it is still hot. But I think they're doing better because even the determinate plant is trying to bloom again. It's acting like it's just been planted. So I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. I'm curious. And also the indeterminate is getting new growth. In fact, some of it is sticking out of the cage, as you can see. But we'll see what happens. But the shade cloth did do a great job. It blocked 30% of the UV rays and added shade. So that was great. But I also did something else too. And this was just within the last few days. Cut back this tree. I did a before video, but I don't know what happened to it. Maybe my battery was dying and I didn't know it. So I'll see if I can find it. If I can, then I will. But you can see where it was cut off. The only thing now is that it's made my sunroom really hot, because it was shading my sunroom. But I had to do that not for the garden, but because the tree is leaning towards my house, and that's not good. Especially hurricane season is about to start, and then here's other areas where the limbs were trimmed over my house. So okay, and this is the other garden. These are the sweet potatoes, and they're growing nicely. I know it's going to be a while before you get those, what, 4, 5, 6 months? And this squash, I am really so happy about this squash because it was basically dying. I think it was getting too much water, but now it is healthier. And in fact, on one of them, I don't know if it's this one or not, I saw a little baby squash, not just the male flower, but an actual baby squash. It might have been the other one. And these are the other okra that I'm growing. Want to get a new batch of okra. This is one of the potato plants that's left over. This one and this one. All the others have been harvested. And this potato, I don't know, maybe one of the potatoes down there is starting to sprout again, but it has green leaves, and that should not be the case. I left those in there because I want to see just how long they will last, for one, but also the ones that I did harvest were rather small, so I want to see if leaving them in there a couple of weeks longer would make a difference. Again, the okra. There's something interesting happening with this okra. I'll tell you when we go inside. Here's the other squash. So I'm hoping, since they're looking so much healthier and growing more vigorously now, I'm hoping that the squash that are growing, there's a tiny little one in there. We can probably see it better inside. I'm hoping that by having the 2 squash, two squash plants in there that I can get the male flower and female flower to bloom at the same time, so that they can be pollinated, even if I have to hand pollinate, which I probably will, because they are not insects or beneficial insects, or those that like pollen can't get in here in this cage as easily because the holes are only a ½ inch in diameter. This particular cucumber, I'm just starting to see little cucumber grow on it. I've been seeing flowers, but they've all been male flowers, but that's typical. Usually the male flowers show up first, I guess, to attract the pollinators, and then the female flowers come next. So I may be hand pollinating these also. And then the shorter ones here, this is Armenian cucumber that I'm growing. Hopefully I'll get some fruit from this. I've never tasted Armenian cucumbers before, but I'm hoping that I'll get a chance to. I don't know even what the texture or anything is like. I've read that they taste somewhat more like a melon almost than a cucumber. And here are some other cucumbers. I have the Bait Alpha, Telegraph Improved, and then of course the Armenian. And this one I think is a Dionede, the largest one there most likely is a Dionede, that I planted it earlier than I planted the others, so that's why it's so much bigger. And here are more green beans. I see a few little beans in here, but right now they're really small. But it's getting bigger. Oh my gosh, look at that. Gotten bigger. Oh goodness. I might get some green beans out of here. I think I might plant some more just to see what I get out of here. Okay, and this is the squash I was talking about, or one of them. But I don't see any baby squash on that one. But there, I think I did see, yeah, there's one right there. The tiny one. There's one, and then I think there's one behind it. But whether or not it will actually turn into anything is a different story. And here's what I was talking about. This particular okra plant, this one plant here, and the one next to it are full of aphids, and the ants are herding them, are farming them. I came out and sprayed for aphids and killed off the adult aphids, but there were eggs left, and the ants have been, it's really strange, the ants have been going to the bud right here where the baby or the eggs are, and taking the eggs and putting them under the leaves so that they can hatch. That is just amazing, because I've heard that ants will herd and take care of aphids because they like the fluid or liquid that aphids produce from their abdomen. So that is really crazy. And here is my first, well, I have two okra that have started to bloom. My first flower. I think okra flowers are beautiful. And there's another one. Yeah, here it is. Another one right here. So that's what's been happening in the garden. But anyway, I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.